This is a restaurant, not a charity. You are fired!
Then I would rather be a good person than be your employee.
She was fired for feeding, an old veteran. Then 4 Hells Angels stormed the cafe. When waitress Emily Harper was fired for giving her last tip money to feed a hungry veteran, she thought her kindness had cost her everything. Until 4 Hells Angels walked into the cafe demanding justice. The Pioneer Cafe buzzed with Tuesday morning energy. Eugene's working class grabbed coffee before their shifts. Steam rose from fresh pots. The grill sizzled with bacon and eggs. Outside, Oregon's autumn rain drummed against windows. Inside, fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows over worn vinyl booths. The smell of coffee and grease filled air thick with conversations about bills, jobs, and survival in a town where paychecks barely covered rent. Emily Harper, 28, tied her apron with practiced efficiency. Yesterday's tips, $47, had to stretch until Friday's paycheck. Single mother to 6-year-old Lily, Emily worked doubles at the cafe. She studied nursing online at night, chasing dreams that poverty made difficult but not impossible. The veteran sat alone in corner booth 7. He studied the menu with obvious hunger. His careful mathematics Emily recognized from her own calculations about affordable meals. His worn army jacket told stories of service. His weathered hands revealed years of struggle that military training hadn't prepared him for. Harold "Tank" Williams, 52, hadn't eaten in 2 days. His disability check was late again. Pride kept him from begging, despite stomach pains that reminded him how far he'd fallen since Desert Storm. He'd served with distinction before PTSD, and job losses cost him everything: house, family, stability. Greg Dalton, 35, managed Pioneer Cafe with an iron fist. He squeezed profits from minimum wage workers, cut corners that affected food quality and employee morale. His Harvard MBA hadn't taught him about compassion, only efficiency that treated human needs as obstacles to quarterly earnings. Some battles are fought with weapons, others with kindness, when choosing between profit and principle reveals character under pressure. Emily watched the hungry veteran study menu prices his empty wallet couldn't afford. Greg monitored her section with corporate coldness. He measured employee worth through sales numbers rather than human decency during moments requiring moral choice. "What can I get you, sir?" Emily approached Tank's table. She recognized hunger that pride tried to hide through careful menu examination. "Just coffee, miss. Black." Emily studied Tank's situation. Coffee wouldn't address hunger that 2-day fast had created, but full meal cost more than veteran could afford. "Sir, our breakfast special includes eggs, bacon, hash browns, and toast. Very filling meal." "Appreciate that, but coffee's all I can handle today." The admission revealed Tank's poverty. It emphasized dignity that homelessness hadn't destroyed. Emily made her decision. "Breakfast specials on me today. Thank you for your service." She used her own tip money, $12 that Lily needed for school supplies. Some kindnesses required personal sacrifice for strangers whose need exceeded her ability to ignore human suffering. Tank's eyes filled with tears. Unexpected compassion restored faith in civilian society that had often failed veterans. "Ma'am, I can't let you pay for my food." "Already ordered it, sir. Kitchen's cooking. Can't waste food." Greg witnessed the transaction. He calculated lost revenue that Emily's charity had cost restaurant. Profit margins couldn't absorb employee generosity that set dangerous precedent for other workers. "Emily, office, now." The command carried authority that brooked no argument. other customers recognized developing confrontation between compassionate waitress and profit-focused manager. Tank attempted intervention. "Sir, I can pay." "Sir, you stay out of this," Greg snapped. Public confrontation risked customer sympathy that could complicate disciplinary action. Emily followed Greg to cramped office where employee discipline occurred away from customer observation, away from public opinion about management decisions. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Greg's voice carried rage that Emily's unauthorized generosity had triggered. "Helping hungry veteran with breakfast he needed? Using restaurant resources for personal charity? That's theft, Emily. Grounds for immediate termination." The accusation transformed kindness into criminal activity. It ignored Emily's use of, "I used my own tip money, Greg. Didn't cost restaurant anything." "Doesn't matter. You gave away product without authorization. Creates liability issues and sets precedent that other employees might follow. Can't have staff making independent decisions about pricing." Emily processed Greg's explanation. Corporate policy prioritized control over compassion when human need conflicted with management authority. "Sir, helping hungry people is right thing to do regardless of policy." Right thing is following procedures that keep business profitable and employees employed. Your bleeding heart doesn't pay rent or wages. The confrontation attracted attention from kitchen staff and customers. Their conversations had stopped to observe management crisis. Tank finished his meal. Emily's generosity was creating employment consequences that his hunger had triggered through acceptance of charity. 4 Harleys rumbled into parking lot. Members of Hellbound Chapter Local Hells Angels, whose membership included Vietnam veterans. Their own struggles with civilian transition had created empathy for vulnerable brothers requiring assistance from community. Jake Steele Morrison led group whose military experience had taught them about protecting vulnerable people from institutional failures. Sometimes backup arrives wearing colors instead of uniforms, and brotherhood extends beyond military service when veterans recognize injustice requiring immediate intervention. "You're fired, Emily. Clean out your locker and get out," Greg announced, loud enough for dining room to hear. Public humiliation would discourage other employees from similar acts of unauthorized charity. Emily felt world collapse. Unemployment threatened everything. Apartment, Lily's school, nursing program that single mother's determination had sustained through years of sacrifice. "Greg, please, I need this job. I have daughter to support." Should have thought about that before violating company policy. Security will escort you out if necessary. The threat revealed Greg's complete lack of empathy. Corporate coldness measured employee worth through compliance rather than character. Tank witnessed Emily's termination. His acceptance of kindness had cost compassionate waitress her livelihood through management decision that punished generosity toward veterans. "Sir, this is wrong. Lady helped someone who needed help. That should be rewarded, not punished." "Mind your own business or leave," Greg replied. He dismissed veteran whose opinion carried no weight with manager whose priorities excluded humanitarian considerations. Other customers began expressing displeasure with Greg's decision. Community wouldn't support continued patronage of establishment that punished kindness. Steele Morrison entered with 3 hellbound brothers. Their military bearing commanded immediate attention from customers and staff who recognized authority that motorcycle colors couldn't disguise. Heard there was problem with how veterans being treated here, Steele announced. The dining room had grown quiet as Hell's Angels' presence shifted atmosphere from routine breakfast service to potential confrontation. Greg studied 4 bikers. Their appearance triggered security concerns despite their calm demeanor and respectful tone that suggested inquiry rather than threat. No problem here. Private personnel matter being handled according to company policy. Private matter? Firing waitress for feeding hungry veterans seems pretty public to me, Steele observed. Emily's termination had created community issue requiring resolution. Tank approached Steele with recognition that connected veterans across generational boundaries. Shared military experience transcended surface differences about post-service lifestyle choices. These gentlemen served too, sir. Different wars, same brotherhood. The introduction established common ground. It explained Hell's Angels' interest in situations that affected veteran welfare through punishment of civilian whose kindness had served military community. Steele's Vietnam service patch validated his authority to speak for veteran community. "Ma'am, you were fired for helping hungry veteran?" Steele asked Emily. Her termination represented institutional failure that veteran community couldn't ignore. "Yes, sir. Used my own tip money to buy breakfast for gentlemen who hadn't eaten in 2 days. Manager said it violated policy." The explanation revealed injustice that Steele's military experience recognized as systematic problem affecting veteran welfare. Policy against helping veterans? Steele addressed Greg. Tone remained respectful despite growing anger at management decision. Policy against employees making unauthorized decisions about restaurant resources, Greg replied. He attempted to maintain authority that 4 bikers seemed determined to challenge through public accountability. Other patrons began expressing support for Emily. Greg's isolation became apparent as community values aligned with fired waitress whose compassion had earned respect. "Lady should get medal, not termination," declared regular customer whose own military service had created appreciation for Emily's kindness toward veteran. Social media documentation began as customers recorded confrontation between Hell's Angels and restaurant management. Emily's story attracted regional attention through viral sharing. Justice for Emily began trending as video footage revealed injustice that resonated with viewers. Their own values supported compassionate treatment of veterans rather than punishment of civilians whose kindness served military community. Local news stations contacted Pioneer Café, requesting interviews about incident that had generated public outrage through social media coverage. Emily was portrayed as victim of corporate coldness rather than policy violator. Greg faced crisis as negative publicity threatened restaurant reputation. Customer boycotts began organizing through social media platforms that amplified community anger. Emily's nursing school classmates established GoFundMe campaign. It raised $3,000 in first day as community support demonstrated values that Greg's termination decision had violated. Steele coordinated with other veteran organizations. Their membership included thousands of military families willing to support Emily through employment opportunities that valued character over compliance with policies. "Ma'am, veteran community takes care of people who take care of veterans," Steele assured Emily. Her kindness had earned support from military families whose gratitude would create opportunities that restaurant termination couldn't destroy. Sometimes, justice requires community response when institutional policies fail to protect those whose kindness serves values that matter more than profit margins. Greg's desperation escalated when corporate headquarters received hundreds of complaints about Emily's termination. His management position was threatened. Public relations disaster required explanation. Mr. Dalton, explain why firing compassionate employee for helping veteran has generated national negative coverage, demanded regional supervisor. Career advancement depended on profitable operations rather than publicity scandals. Greg attempted deflection through policy justification. He ignored community backlash that had transformed local incident into corporate crisis. Employee violated procedures by providing unauthorized discounts. Standard disciplinary action according to company handbook. But corporate legal department had identified liability issues. Emily's termination for humanitarian gesture toward veteran could constitute discrimination against employee whose moral convictions conflicted with company policies. Legal advice suggests reinstating employee while developing policy accommodation for charitable assistance to military families. Corporate attorney recommended. Emily's firing created precedent that other terminated employees might use in wrongful termination lawsuits. Emily faced different pressure as media attention had attracted job offers that exceeded Pioneer Café wages. But these required relocating to cities where Lily's school stability would be disrupted. Channel 7 wants exclusive interview about veteran advocacy, reporter explained. Emily processed media opportunities that could advance her career but might exploit Tank's situation through publicity. Tank's own crisis deepened as attention had attracted social services investigation into his housing situation. This threatened what little stability he'd maintained through careful avoidance of bureaucratic systems. Community rallying around Emily had created momentum that Greg couldn't control through corporate policies. Steele's coordination with veteran organizations had generated pressure requiring resolution. Pioneer Café faces veteran community boycott affecting 40% of customer base, Steele announced during packed community meeting. Emily's termination had become symbol of broader issues affecting veteran treatment by civilian institutions. Greg attended meeting under corporate pressure to resolve crisis. His position depended on restoring community relationships that Emily's firing had damaged. Mr. Dalton, your termination of Emily Harper for feeding hungry veteran reveals institutional priorities that veteran community cannot accept, Steele addressed Greg. Audience of 200 community members demonstrated support for fired waitress. Emily spoke about her decision to help Tank. She emphasized that kindness toward veterans shouldn't require policy violations, but rather institutional support for humanitarian gestures. I'd make same decision again because helping people is more important than following rules that prevent compassion when someone needs food. The statement drew standing ovation. Greg realized that community values supported Emily's position rather than his management decision. Tank's testimony about Emily's kindness had restored his faith in civilian society. It challenged community to support institutions that valued compassion over profit. Emily Harper represents values that military service was meant to protect. Punishing her kindness toward veterans violates everything we fought to defend. Corporate intervention forced Greg's resignation. Emily's reinstatement included promotion to assistant manager with authority to approve charitable assistance for veterans and other vulnerable customers. Pioneer Café establishes Emily Harper Veteran Assistance Program, providing meals for military families facing financial hardship. Corporate announcement declared. Policy changes had transformed Emily's individual kindness into systematic support for vulnerable populations. Greg's departure created opportunity for management that aligned with community values. Emily's promotion had provided platform for implementing humanitarian policies that served veteran welfare without threatening restaurant profitability. Tank's situation improved through veteran services coordination that Steele had facilitated. He connected with housing assistance and disability advocacy that addressed systematic problems rather than temporary charity. Emily's nursing school progress accelerated through scholarship support from veteran organizations. Their gratitude had created educational opportunities that restaurant wages alone couldn't have funded. Hellbound Chapter established regular presence at Pioneer Café. Their support had created safe space where veterans could receive assistance without stigma. Social media documentation of successful resolution had inspired similar programs at restaurants throughout region. Emily's story demonstrated how individual kindness could create systematic change when community values supported humanitarian policies. Community pressure can transform individual injustice into systematic change when moral courage inspires collective action, supporting values transcending corporate policies. 6 months later, Emily had transformed Pioneer Café into community gathering place. Veteran Assistance Program had served 150-plus military families. Her assistant manager position had provided stability, enabling completion of nursing degree with honors. Emily Harper Veteran Program had inspired 8 regional restaurants to adopt similar policies. Systematic support for military families had replaced individual charity with institutional commitment. Steele's coordination with business community had created a network of veteran-friendly establishments. Their policies supported military families through employment opportunities, housing assistance, and meal programs. Tank's transformation from homeless veteran to peer counselor at Veterans Outreach Center had demonstrated recovery potential when systematic support addressed underlying problems. Sometimes you have to lose everything to discover who you really are, Tank reflected. His peer counseling had helped 20-plus veterans navigate services that bureaucratic complexity had previously made inaccessible. Emily's nursing program completion with veteran healthcare specialty had prepared her for career-serving military families. Their medical needs often went unmet due to provider shortages in veteran healthcare systems. Pioneer Café's first anniversary of veteran program brought together 200-plus community members. Emily's transformation from fired waitress to healthcare professional had inspired similar career changes among service workers whose compassion had been rewarded rather than punished. Emily Harper represents hope that individual kindness can create systematic change, Mayor Patricia Johnson announced. She recognized employee whose termination had exposed institutional failures requiring policy reform. Steele presented Emily with honorary Hellbound Chapter membership. Unprecedented recognition acknowledged civilian whose service to veteran community had earned respect that military families reserved for those whose actions demonstrated genuine commitment. Emily earned this through actions, not words, helped veterans when it cost her everything, never stopped fighting for what's right. Steele explained, patch presentation created emotional moment that connected civilian and military communities through shared values. Tank's completion of peer counselor certification had enabled employment at Veterans Outreach Center. His transformation from homeless veteran to service provider had demonstrated recovery potential when systematic support addressed underlying problems. Regional expansion of veteran assistance programs had served 350-plus military families. Emily's story had inspired policy changes at 15-plus establishments whose humanitarian programs had replaced individual charity with institutional commitment. Emily's nursing career launch faced challenges as veteran healthcare specialization required additional training that student loans couldn't cover. Academic excellence had earned recognition from military medical facilities seeking qualified professionals. Veteran healthcare nursing requires specialized skills that traditional programs don't provide, explained VA Medical Center Director. His facility needed professionals who understood military trauma, family dynamics, and cultural factors. Hellbound Chapter established scholarship program funding Emily's advanced training. Their support had created precedent for civilian-military cooperation that served veteran welfare through educational opportunities for healthcare professionals. Community investment in Emily's education serves veteran healthcare for decades, Steele observed. Scholarship program had demonstrated motorcycle club's commitment to veteran welfare extending beyond immediate assistance. Tank's peer counseling had revealed systematic problems affecting veteran services that individual assistance couldn't address without policy changes requiring advocacy. His position enabled through insider knowledge of bureaucratic failures. Pioneer Café's success had attracted corporate acquisition offers that could eliminate veteran program if new ownership prioritized profit over community service. Emily's decision to decline lucrative hospital positions in favor of Veterans Outreach Center employment had prioritized community service over personal advancement. Her healthcare training would serve veteran families whose medical needs often went unmet. Working with veterans who helped me when I needed help most feels like completing circle, Emily explained. Career choice had honored relationships that terminated waitress job had created through community response to injustice. Veteran Outreach Center's expansion into comprehensive healthcare facility had been funded through community donations inspired by Emily's story. Her nursing expertise would guide medical services that addressed veteran healthcare gaps. Pioneer Café's community ownership model had preserved veteran assistance program. Employee stock sharing had prevented corporate acquisition that might have eliminated humanitarian policies. Tank's promotion to Veteran Services Coordinator had enabled him to advocate for systematic changes that peer counseling had revealed as necessary for addressing veteran homelessness, healthcare access, and employment discrimination. Steele's coordination between motorcycle club and business community had created permanent support network for veterans requiring assistance. Hellbound Chapter's involvement had demonstrated that community safety required cooperation. 2 years later, Emily's healthcare clinic at Veterans Outreach Center had served 600-plus military families. Her transformation from fired waitress to nurse practitioner specializing in veteran healthcare had demonstrated how individual kindness could create career opportunities. Tank's Veteran Services Coordination had helped 100-plus homeless veterans access housing. His recovery had inspired systematic program changes that addressed underlying causes of veteran homelessness. Pioneer Café had become symbol of community values. Veteran Assistance Program had expanded to include job training, housing referrals, and educational support for military families. Sometimes getting fired is blessing that leads to purpose you never knew existed, Emily reflected. Healthcare career had provided meaning that restaurant work couldn't offer despite community relationships. Steele's leadership had transformed Hellbound chapter into recognized community organization. Their veteran advocacy had earned respect that motorcycle club reputation hadn't previously generated. Veteran Outreach Center had become regional model for comprehensive services. Emily's healthcare expertise had guided medical programs that addressed veteran family needs. 4 years later, Dr. Emily Harper had completed nurse practitioner program. Her specialization in veteran healthcare had served 1,500 plus military families throughout region whose medical needs had been addressed through clinic that community support had funded. The Emily Harper Veteran Healthcare Clinic had served 1,500 plus military families, while Pioneer Café's Veteran Assistance Program had expanded to 20 plus establishments throughout region. Steele's Hellbound chapter had coordinated $150,000 in veteran assistance, while their community advocacy had earned recognition that motorcycle club reputation hadn't previously generated. Tank's Veteran Services Coordination had helped 300 plus homeless veterans access housing, while his peer counseling had inspired systematic program changes. Regional Veteran Healthcare Network operated in 6 counties, while Emily's nursing expertise had guided medical services addressing veteran family needs. Community ownership of Pioneer Café had preserved Veteran Assistance Program, while employee profit sharing had prevented corporate acquisition. Regional media coverage had inspired veteran support programs in 10 cities, demonstrating that civilian-military cooperation could address systematic problems affecting vulnerable populations more effectively than individual charity alone. 5 years later, Dr. Emily Harper's Veteran Healthcare Network had served 3,000 military families, while Steele's community advocacy had inspired veteran support programs in 12 cities. Their enduring friendship had proven that kindness creates opportunities for mutual assistance when community values support humanitarian policies over institutional compliance. They learned that some battles are fought with weapons, others with kindness, but the most important ones are fought when choosing compassion over convenience transforms individual crisis into community opportunity. Protecting vulnerable populations requires cooperation between all residents, whose shared values transcend surface differences about appearance, lifestyle, or organizational affiliation. When authentic commitment to helping others creates lasting change that benefits entire communities rather than single recipients. Individual acts of courage inspire collective action when moral clarity meets community support that values human dignity over corporate profits, creating systematic changes that honor rather than exploit those whose circumstances require assistance from neighbors whose prosperity depends on mutual care rather than competitive indifference. Some battles are fought with weapons, others with kindness, but the most important ones are fought when choosing compassion over convenience transforms individual crisis into community opportunity for protecting those who protected everyone else.